Well, hello, everybody. I am Melinda with Prince Agency Insurance. Thank you all for coming out. Wonderful turnout. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dawn, our presenter tonight, but quick little bit of housekeeping, and I'm covering up my mic, aren't I? This way, all right, in screen, so people at home can zoom in and see me. We've got refreshments in the back, one bathroom there. If you go out this hallway, down the hallway, turn left, there's a bathroom in this hallway as well. If you need to do that, come on in, you get to sit up front. But I want to introduce my friend Dawn Pick Benson, and I have been in the health insurance and Medicare market, helping people with those things for in the vicinity of about 15 years at this point. And one of the very first networking events that I went to, I met Dawn, and we kind of connected right from the beginning and had some similar things in common in that we were starting new businesses and things like that. She wrote some of the copy for my very first website. She's a writer by trade. And as you know, life happens. It changes course without warning, right? And we have to adjust. And often people come my way because they need help with their health insurance when that happens. But in Dawn's situation, she's gone through some of those changes as well, like all of us have. And it's been really fun to watch her adjust, right? And learn how to venture out on her own and take risks and explore new things and have a lot of really exciting experiences. And more than anything, give back to other people and women specifically in her life. And so that's been really fun for me to watch. She's become a photographer in the meantime, and some beautiful, beautiful pictures that I get to vicariously see what you're doing, right? So thank you so much for coming to talk to us all. We're very excited to have you here. And I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you. All right. Let's get this situated first so that nothing falls off. Okay. Are we good? All right. First of all, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. And thanks, Belinda. It's really kind of fun just to be here. I love talking about travel, so it's definitely in my wheelhouse. And I wanted to start out with a question for you guys, just to kind of take a lay of the land of the group. Has anyone here gone on a solo travel journey? Okay, one, two. All right, there's a few of you. Cool. For those of you who have not, or even if you have, what are some of the fears that you might have around traveling solo? Is there a fear that has stopped you? Or, you know, I'm assuming if you're here, you might at least be a little bit interested in the topic. So I'm curious as to what holds you back? What's a fear that just kind of pops into your mind? Yes?
Getting mugged and end up in a Turkish jail.
Oh my gosh, I hope that does not happen, but you're right, we create these scenarios, getting mugged and ending up in jail. A Turkish jail, okay. Yes?
Figuring out transportation and all the places from point A through Z and how you just get around and find your way.
Oh my gosh, I'm with you on the transportation.
Especially in a foreign country.
Yes. I grew up on a farm, so public transportation is not natural to me. I still have a fear if I'm going to get on a bus and end up in, you know, the
Turkish jail.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Does anyone have one more? So it's the logistics and it's just the safety behind it, right? It makes perfect sense. So that's helpful for me as I talk, kind of getting an idea of because I think there are a lot of things that keep us from, you know, that kind of give us that fear of traveling on our own that happened immediately when we think about it. And so I want to start by telling you a little bit about my own story. Because a few of you asked me earlier on, like, what's your own story? How did you end up doing this? I am what's called a travel coach, and I focus on working with women who are usually in the middle of a life transition. But let me tell you how I got there. I'm going to tell you the short version because the long version is very long. But the short version is back in 2019, I found myself divorced. And I knew that I just needed to get away for a while. I was, as what happens when a life change happens, often for us, is we start asking a lot of questions. So not only was I looking at like, what does my life look like now? Everything looks different than I planned, right? So I started to ask those questions, and then I also started asking questions. It just kind of snowballed for me. Like also my career. Melinda mentioned I've been a writer. I started to go, do I want to do this for another 20 years, or do I want to do something else? Is this really what I ever wanted to do with my life? So that happens, and I'm thinking, well, this is terrible timing. I'm now suddenly an entrepreneur and on my own, and now I'm wondering whether or not I have the right job. Great. So, and then I'm asking questions about faith and like what I always believed in, and is everything, because when shifts happen, it feels like, I always explain it as like, it kind of felt like I was walking, like what the ground used to be real solid, and then suddenly it's like Jello. And I'm thinking, is everything I ever thought was going to happen in my life or believed, did it all just like, was I wrong about all of it? And now what do I do? So I decided to go to the most obvious place for such a trip. To Kosovo. And I put a map here because 99% of people I talk to have no idea where this place is. So, and if anyone's my age or older, you might remember, you'll likely remember the former Yugoslavia. Kosovo is in that area. I always tell people east of the boot of Italy and north of Greece, basically. You can drive across it in 3 hours, so it's tiny. And I also have people ask me, why did you choose this place? That is also a really long story, but the short version is that I had been there before. So I was somewhat familiar with the place, and when I knew that I needed to get away from the everyday life I needed to get away from the questions, from all that was going on in my head and around me, and I kind of knew I needed to feel safe, connected, cared about, and I had friends there. So to me, it made sense to go there. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, to be thinking about what makes sense for us to go, like what we're needing. And at that time, the last thing I needed to do was get on a plane and go to somewhere like Thailand that I have never been to, because I was already feeling enough stress, already, experiencing grief and anxiety. And the last thing I needed to do was just plop myself into a place that I felt like I didn't know anything. So to me, this was, getting away, but also a little measure of safety for me. So that is how I ended up in Kosovo. And I also didn't do the normal touristy things on this trip, because I knew that I needed to spend time with myself, and I needed to do a lot of processing. So you can see the picture on the left is me. I chose to live in an Airbnb at the top of a hill that overlooked the main capital city of Pristina. And I counted those stairs one time, and I can't remember, but it's like 200 plus 250 stairs. Every day down the stairs, every day up the stairs. Very good exercise, but also a lot of thinking time. So I walked a lot. I walked past street musicians, dudes playing chess in the back of their taxi, drank a whole lot of coffee. But during this time, and I think we know, there's a reason why we say I'm going to go out for a walk, right? Like I need to go for a walk. And so when we move our bodies, it helps us process and think about what's going on in our lives. And so I did a lot of that. I did a lot of walking. I did a lot of processing, a lot of thinking about what's next, trying to imagine some of that, had some really interesting conversations with strangers. And then I came back, and the friends that I were chatting with when I came back, or I would just have friends say this to me. They'd be like, Dawn, you've changed so much. Like even your countenance is different. You look different. What in the world did you do in Kosovo? And I would get that a lot. And I did really have a transformative experience, just because I took the time to really kind of reflect. And then eventually I had one friend who called me, and she said, I remember her calling me on the phone and her saying, I wonder what it would look like if you were to help other women do what you just did. She's like, you've changed so much. What would it look like for you to teach other women to do the same? And I just kind of dismissed her, because I thought, That's not a job. I'm not like, remember, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own business. I can't just be doing free stuff all over the place. I have to make a living. I didn't think that this was a job. But it wouldn't, as what happens to us sometimes when we have inspirations or things that maybe I think we're called to do, it kept coming back. And it kept coming back to my mind, and I couldn't get it out of my head. And so eventually one day I'm Googling a phrase, and I realized there are actually people in the world who are travel coaches. I'd never even heard of the phrase. I knew what a life coach was, but a travel coach, I was like, is that really, like, for real? So I started, checking on the websites, looking at some of the people. I mean, some of them may or may not have been great, but what I did realize in looking at that is that I was like, that particular idea is so naturally suited to me that I can't even believe it. Like I've spent years prior to this doing a lot of traveling. I used to take students on study abroad trips. So travel is not new to me, but doing it in the way that I did was maybe a little bit newer, but I was used to traveling and knew a lot about it, and also knew that I liked mentoring people. I used to work with students a lot, and I was a professor for a while. So, I have a lot of experience in that, and I thought, I could do this. Why not? So I kind of looked at, I did a lot of my own research, also talked to a lot of women who were in my position or similar positions, and just finding out what they needed. And what came of it is me creating a group called Brave Journey. So what I focus on, I do some one-on-one travel coaching with women, but what I really love to do and what I learned in talking to the women and from my own experience is that there's magic in community, right? I mean, don't we all kind of, I think, especially if you're a woman, you kind of know, like, there's magic when you bring women together, and we all, and especially when we're being real with one another, right? And so I knew that from my own experience, and I'll talk about this in a minute when we get into the details of my ideas for you guys, is that for me, that was a transformational part of me, part of my trip, of me having people who were part of my own community kind of cheering me on along the way. So I created this program that the women gather together. We meet on Zoom together because they're all over the world and the country. And it's a small group program where they come to, where we bring women who are interested in the idea of solo travel, they're experiencing some kind of life transition. So it might be divorce, loss of a loved one. A lot of people are newly retired, stuff like that, thinking about what's next for me. And so bringing them together, and I help them imagine what might be an incredible trip for them. And then it's sort of like a mastermind where they're all planning their own solo journey, but they're doing it as a group so that they're cheering one another along on the process. So you don't feel like you're on your own. And when you have questions about solo travel, we can kind of talk about it as a group. So it's been a really, really fun program, and to watch the women transform as they go has been really incredible. And then an outcropping of that has been women asking, well, I kind of want to travel with you. How do I do that? And so I have started doing retreats, and this year I'm going to North Macedonia and taking a group of women there. So I also now do retreats as well. So it's really, for me, there's a focus on this community aspect and the growth that travel brings. And I'll talk a little bit more and maybe give you some examples, but these are some of the women who are on the retreat or went on their own brave journey, and some of their pictures along the way. So I'm gonna talk about 5 ways to embrace your fear, take action, and experience the healing power of solo travel. And I'm gonna start with, we're gonna start big picture, and then we're gonna get specific. I know that there are a lot of people that talk about safety in solo travel, and they do this, they get real technical about it, and like, here's 5 ways to be safe, and here's how to basically not get mugged and all of these things. But I also know, and I think we all kind of know this, if you don't make your vision greater than your fear, you're never going to step into that travel, right? So, I mean, how many people have had children in here, right? So I think it would probably start with a vision for a family, right? I want to have children, I want to have a family. And I'm also going to guess that not many of you are going to say, I loved childbirth. It was amazing, right? But you were willing to step into that fear, into that pain, because you had a vision for something greater. So I think solo travel is kind of like that. If you can create a vision of something I really, really want, this trip I really want to go on, it helps you step through the fear. Because you're never, I can tell you all the tips I want, I could sit here and tell you all kinds of stuff, but if you don't actually have a vision for something that you really, really want, you're unlikely to step through that fear. And just to kind of give you an example of this, so I want to do an exercise with you guys, if you're willing. So if you're comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. If you're not super comfortable with that, you can stare off into space, just do a soft gaze. And I'm going to ask you this question. What is the most extraordinary, beautiful journey I can imagine for myself? And I'm going to give you a minute just to kind of place yourself somewhere. And I know you might have, sometimes people say, I have 3 or 4 ideas. Just pick one. Just pick a place that would be an extraordinary, beautiful journey for you. And let's start by look around as you're in that space. What do you see? So you might see beautiful waves rolling in. You might be looking out at the water and there's waves rolling in. Right? You might see an incredible mountain vista. It could be it could just be a city street with cafes lined all the way along the road. Right? It could be just a cabin out in the countryside, right? So just think about what you see. And now I want you to imagine what you hear. Is it just the wind blowing? Is it the sound of waves crashing? Or it could be maybe the crunching under your feet as you're walking, walking through a path in a beautiful location. So just think about what you hear, what's around you, what do you hear? And now think about what you smell. Because you might smell wildflowers or salty air. Maybe it is pizza cooking in an oven in Italy. Now I could go on with this with your 5 senses. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a free PDF with this full exercise in it. But I'm going to stop there just for time reasons and ask you, in that space that you're in, where you're looking around and you're smelling and you're noticing what you hear, how do you feel in that moment? And I want you to pick 2 words for how you feel in that moment. Just 2 simple words. How do I feel as I'm in this space? Okay, does everyone have their 2 words? All right. So, does anyone want to volunteer to tell me what you saw, like a little bit about what you saw and what your 2 words were? Is anyone willing to share?
Peaceful and happy.
Peaceful and happy. And can you tell us a little bit about what you saw?
I was just country bouncing through Europe.
Ah, nice. Okay, country bouncing through Europe and peaceful and happy.
Cafe on the street side somewhere with a glass of wine.
You and I need to travel together. This would be one of my versions as well. Okay, so we're gonna think about that, and you can see how suddenly you might have you're beginning to have a vision for what that trip could look like, and what you can do over time is cultivate that. Like, you keep thinking about it and it grows, and as that vision grows and as you experience that picture, you might be a little more willing to step into your fear. And we'll keep going though. I do have what I mentioned, like this exercise, I have it in a PDF form that tells you the whole thing. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to email me. There's my email address, and just tell me you want the extraordinary exercise, and I'll know what you're talking about, and I
You've
will
got a sheet
be
on the
happy
back
to
to
send it.
sign up, too.
I do, yeah, thank you. There's also a sheet in the back if you want to just put your address there. If that's simpler than you remembering to email me, that's great. Okay, so we're going to add now onto this.
Those on Zoom, just drop your email if you're willing into the chat, and we can do the same.
Okay, yeah, if you're on Zoom, you can put it in the chat. So number 2, choose a location that feels safe and right for you. So we're going to use the example that we just heard, where she's bouncing around Europe and she's feeling peaceful and happy. So, and maybe we take out, okay, bouncing around Europe is one thing, but peaceful and happy. So if I were to say to you guys, we want to have a trip that we feel peaceful and happy, where do you think where could potentially that be? Where might you go to feel peace and happiness? And what might you do? And there's no right or wrong answer here. Just what comes to your mind.
My bucket list would be Greece,
Okay, Greece.
blue Aegean waters, and
Mm-hmm.
sea breezes,
Exactly.
and faith, and all kinds of things that would come into play there.
I love that. I love that. One more. Does anyone have one more?
Croatia.
Croatia. I vote for that. Yes?
Gold Coast of Australia, laying on the beach,
Ooh.
doing some scuba diving, and going to a park where I can go to Kelowna.
Oh my gosh, you have a great. She has a great imagination, right? She's going to the Gold Coast, seeing koalas, laying on the beach. That sounds
Avoiding
peaceful.
sharks.
Avoiding sharks, yes, would not be peaceful and happy. So peaceful and happy. Do you see how even this can narrow it down a little bit? Like she's not explaining that I want to be on a zip line zipping across, the Amazon or something, or I'm going to go skydiving. Peaceful and happy narrows it down a little bit. And yes, it is, subject to how you see peaceful and happy, but that's how, like a lot of times too, the fear of travel is I don't know where to go and I don't know where to start, right? And if you can narrow it down to, I really want, and often I encourage women to come with 3 or 4 words, and that narrows it down kind of quickly, where we get rid of some of the things that our friends might have told us we should do, or other things like she knows she wants to be peaceful and happy. What does that look like? And sometimes it does come with, I know I want to be bouncing around Europe. That's peaceful and happy to me, and you know that right away. I also put the word safe in here because I think that you need to think about that as well, because in order to be willing to step through that fear is you have to feel a sense of safety. And I think that all ladders up to what your actual fears are. So if you have a fear of transportation, then you think about, okay, where could I go where I can mitigate that a little bit? Or like I have a woman who's going on my retreat this year, and she is really nervous about the fact that she doesn't speak the language. We're going to North Macedonia. This language, the major language there is Macedonian, and she's worried about, I don't speak their language, so what do I do? You could quickly, so she's gonna feel more safe if she feels like she can converse with people. And so we could quickly kind of narrow it down and go, okay, well that means like the UK or Australia, where people speak English, so you're not quite so nervous, particularly when you're early on in solo travel. If you've done a lot of it, this might not bother you. But I also do encourage people too, though, to think about, even with the language specifically, yeah, okay, so maybe we narrow it down to places where they speak English predominantly, but also look at places where most people speak English. Like it happens, in North Macedonia, a lot of people speak English. Or when I go to Kosovo, Kosovo is one of the youngest countries in the world. It has a huge population of young people, and everyone speaks English for the most part. So even though their main language is Albanian, I don't have trouble getting around if I don't know the language. So that's also a thing to look at. Do more people than I realize speak English, and can I easily get around? And the same thing with transportation. Picking a place that is known to have transportation be a little bit easier than, for example, I've been in Albania, and I would not suggest that for someone who's nervous about transportation and are new to it, because that's a little bit of the Wild West. That makes me nervous. So, but it's choosing, like, see how you can kind of narrow it down, and then as you choose, as you know what you're nervous about, and choose something that feels safe and that feels like the right choice for you, then you dissipate. So we're kind of narrowing down where your fear starts to get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. All right. My third thing is to gather a community of support before you go. So this is why I do group programs. This is probably one of the most important things that happened with me in terms of my trip, and I also think it helps us to be less nervous. So when I say a community of support, I mean 1 or 2 people, or it could be more, but at least 1 or 2 people in your life who know why you want to travel and what's the purpose of it, and maybe they know your words that you just like, I want to feel this and this, I want to go here. They know where you want, and they're like 100% all in on you going on this trip. So a lot of times this does not necessarily mean your family. I mean, it could be, but sometimes our families are nervous about us traveling, or they're annoyed that we're leaving, right? So you want people in your life who are like, they're 100% all in. I'm so excited that you get this opportunity, and I want you to have it. Those people are gonna help you walk through the fear. They're gonna be excited for you, and when you're overseas and you run into an issue, they're the people you could call and say, look, I've had a really terrible day. What do I do? You know, I don't know. They can encourage you, etc. So this is a really important aspect. And, you know, when I do my Brave Journey groups, what's really kind of fun to see is that these women, as part of the group, they become the community for each other. So they start to see each other planning their trips, and they're cheering each other on. And then when one of them's overseas and we're doing a Zoom call and they're having a bad day, you know, we talk about it. Or maybe they're having an amazing day and we get to be excited for them and just love what happened with them, right? So it kind of helps also to just deal with that fear. And another just kind of side note about this too is community. You know, I'm talking about the community here before you go, but a lot of people ask me too, like, okay, well, don't you get you know, what about when you go there? How do you meet people? Are you just alone all the time? That's another question that people have. And there are a lot of ways that I could answer that. But one thing, just a simple thing that I could tell you for the purposes of today is that, you know, love it or hate it, Facebook really is a good place to find a community where you know you're going. So like, for example, when I was going to Albania, I looked for Facebook groups that had the word expat in them, because expats basically means people who is basically an international who's living overseas, right? So I know they're excited about we could pretend like we're in England. The bell's tolling. So the community, finding a community when you're there, like, okay, so I was talking about Albania, and when I knew I was going, I found some expat groups that were called Albania Expats. The other one was called Vlora Expats, which was the city I was gonna be in. And I joined those groups, and then that was this treasure trove of information where I could ask women who were there, okay, I'm thinking about staying at an Airbnb, where is it safe for me to stay? Where's the best location? I don't have to walk forever to go to the grocery store, you know, safe at night. I could ask them a million questions. I found this delightful group of women who on Thursday mornings played cards. And so I got to know some women who lived there because of this Facebook group. So it's also a way that in which I knew I was going to a location that I was nervous about and didn't know anyone, and me feeling more safe when I went to Albania, because I knew that, first of all, I already kind of knew a few people who were there and had their contact information and knew I could ask them questions if I got into trouble or needed something. Does that make sense? All right. All right, know your first point of contact. So we're getting more specific. I have 5. So we have, this one is really super simple. Basically, because I also know that especially women when we're traveling, where we're often nervous is what happens when I land and I get in the airport and what do I do? What if my taxi driver's not there? What if I can't find a taxi driver? What if I don't know what I'm doing? You know, there's a lot of nerves related to like, okay, I'm landed, now what? What if things don't go as planned? So what I always say is have a first point of contact. So that could be your Airbnb host. If you're staying in Airbnb, if you're at a hotel, it could be, the hotel phone number, etc. But I always say like, just there's a lot of power or a lot of also a feeling of safety when we know we have at least one person's contact information in the country that we're arriving in. So, and I also say this to people too, like let's say you're staying at an Airbnb, do not rely on just the fact that, oh, I have them on my Airbnb app, I'll just message them. Because if you arrive and for some reason your data's not working or your Wi-Fi is not working, you suddenly can't message those people if you're using Booking or Airbnb. You need their actual phone number. So make sure you get that before you go. Make sure you have at least one person's phone number that you know you can call, because if all else fails, you have that number. You can find anyone in an airport who's a local and say, can you please call this person and let them know that I need a ride or I'm lost or whatever. You at least have a phone number and you're not stuck, because and people are always very nice and they're like, you could find someone who will help you make a phone call. So, huh?
Except if you're in
Except in Paris. You'll find some people. Anywhere you can find someone. But this one is super simple. And then my last one. How am I doing on time? Am I way over?
That's only 4 minutes after, so
Okay. Cool. Make technology your friend. Okay. So I'm going to guess either if you're not rolling your eyes at this one, half of you might be rolling your eyes inside, right? Because I work with mostly I work with women over 50. And most of them are not gonna love this one. Like we don't like technology in general. I mean, some of you might. Does anyone here love technology? Oh my God. Okay, so we all need to make friends with Melinda. Right? So most of us don't love it. So I will say either you just need to learn what you need to know and do a little bit of research. But I also always say like, find a friend who likes technology, or befriend the person who, someone who works in your local phone, like at T-Mobile. There are a couple people at T-Mobile I ask lots of questions of. So finding that person who understands technology and can also explain some of it to you. You don't have to be an expert in technology, but there's a couple simple things, because this is by far something that makes people scared of like, what happens when I go overseas? Like, I don't understand the phone thing, especially what do I do? How do I contact people? And I'm going to talk about a couple of real specific things about phones. Okay, so technology could be the entire top talk, honestly, because there's so much involved in it. So I really just picked two main things to talk about that are two things I would say are the most important thing to at least have your bases covered. There are for sure other bases, and if this is something that lots of people want to know more about, I can certainly do another Zoom talk for people about technology. But I just decided to pick, for time's sake, two things to say that are most pertinent to me. One is download the region you'll be in on Google Maps. So if you have a smartphone, on Google Maps, you will go to, I actually don't have the very first screen, but when you first open Google Maps, you'll have a little picture like this one, or it might, if you didn't upload your picture, it might just be your initial. But you click on that, and it will take you to this screen on the left. And you click on offline maps, where the little purple thing is stored, and then you select your own map. And what's really cool is you can select where you're going. And what happens when you hit download is it downloads that portion of Google Maps onto your phone, so that if you get overseas and your Wi-Fi's can't find Wi-Fi or your data's not working, you should be able to pull up where you are on your phone and not wonder, like the last thing we want to do is be lost. I know I'm old enough to have used lots of maps traveling, and so what's interesting is most of us don't have maps anymore, so it's almost like if your phone doesn't work, we're lost, because I don't know where to go now that I don't have, if my phone doesn't work, because I don't carry a map anymore. So it's very scary. Like, that is a nerve-wracking thing for most people of like, and this has happened to me before, where I've landed in a country and suddenly I don't even know to turn right or left because I can't even get my map to come up. So this is one thing that I think is simple that can help you alleviate, like if you know I have some of this technology figured out before I go, it also helps to dissipate your fear. So Google Maps is one thing, and my next one is make sure you have data on your phone. Now, I do have a few friends who might argue with me on this, but I think this is important, especially if you're a new solo traveler. If you've done this a lot, you might have your own hacks, etc. But I'll just tell you one story for why I think this is important. Last year, I did a retreat in Montenegro, and one of the women, who I think is on Zoom right now, so she'll probably laugh. But she was taking a taxi to us to the retreat in Montenegro, from the capital city to where we were going to be, and they stopped, part way through to go to the bathroom and to get some snacks, I think, and she got locked in the bathroom. And it was not a bathroom you can crawl under the door of, right? And so she's, the taxi driver's a guy, so he's not going to be coming in the bathroom anytime soon. And so she's locked in the bathroom. Luckily, she had data. She listened to me. She had data, and she texted me, and she had my phone number. See? She knew my phone number, and she texted me and said, "I'm locked in the bathroom." And so, so luckily, I had helped arrange the taxi, so I knew the woman who arranged the taxi. I texted her, she called the taxi driver, and the taxi driver got her out of the bathroom. Now, eventually she would have gotten out, I'm sure, but just I was like, perfect example for why you should have data, because otherwise you're in the bathroom for who knows how long. This was a lot simpler. There's a couple of different ways. Some of you, I don't want everyone's eyes to glaze over on the details on this, but I'm going to try to keep it simple because this is kind of complicated. And my suggestion is talking to whoever is your phone service. But there's a couple of different ways you can do it, is have an international plan. That's by far like the simplest thing to do. So if you're like, I just want it to be simple and you don't care how much it costs, because it's also the most expensive. In general, although T-Mobile does have some international data that comes with most plans, like I have T-Mobile and I have international data, that's some of it that's free, but I will tell you also with T-Mobile that it works really well in some countries, and in other places, like in the UK for me, it was like I might as well not have had it. So you need to know, do a little research and know that, but you can pay for an international plan. See, she let us know that she's all right, Suzanne. So you want to have either an international plan, which, for people who want to keep it simple, and if you're not gone very long, it's not that expensive, but it can add up if you're gone for a longer time. The other options are a physical SIM or an eSIM. So a SIM is just this little tiny card that goes into your phone that basically allows you, when you're overseas, to talk to the network that's there. So if you have a place for a physical SIM in your phone, you can literally land in the airport. You can go find, there are kiosks everywhere, and they will basically help you do that. They will give you one, they'll set it up on your phone. It's actually very easy because usually they will just take care of it for you. The only thing that has complicated my life and some people's lives lately is that new iPhones do not have a physical SIM slot. So you can't use a physical SIM. So this is where you need to kind of know what phone you have, and this is why I say make friends with, a technology friend, or go, if you have T-Mobile or Verizon, go into the store and show them your phone and let them explain some of this to you. Because if you can't you don't want to arrive in a country and find out I can't use a physical SIM and I needed an eSIM. And an eSIM is an electronic version of that. And there are apps like this one, Airalo, which you can download on your phone, and then you can search, I'm going to this region, I need an eSIM, and you can buy it. And they're actually really incredibly cheap. Sometimes they're $5. So it depends on where you're going and stuff like that. The thing about that eSIM is that you need to take care of that before you go. So you purchase it when you are here in the US. If you're, I always advise that you download it and set it up before you are overseas, because again, you get overseas and you don't have data or Wi-Fi, you can't add your eSIM. So, and that is something that it's very specific how you have to do it, so it's also helpful to have someone helping you with it as well. And for anyone who is doing solo travel or interested in it and has, I also do a lot of like just individual coaching around this kind of stuff too. So if this is ever an issue for you and you're like, hey, I just need a session, can you help me with tech? That's something I can do too, and be more specific, because in a group like this, I don't know what all kind of phone plans you have, so I can't be super specific, but this is the high level, basically don't get yourself locked in the bathroom is my tip, okay? So this is what we talked about today. Make your vision greater than your fear, which is really kind of where it starts to be able to dissipate. I remember Robin, who's in one of my Brave Journey groups, halfway through the group, she called me one day and said, Dawn, I'm not scared anymore. And it was because she was so excited about her trip to the south of France that she was like, I'm not even scared to go anymore, I'm excited. So you want that to happen for yourself. You can choose a location that feels safe and right for you, select your people or your community, know your first point of contact, and make technology your friend. Again, if you want this download, you can put, or even if you want to be on my mailing list, I write a lot of different things about travel. Put your email on that list that's back there. And then I will just leave you with this quote that says, that thing that gives you butterflies, that lights you up, that world you see when you close your eyes, chase that. So that world you saw earlier when you had your eyes closed, that's your vision. With all your soul, chase that. So here's my information, my email address. I'm on lots of social media, pretty much under my name. My name's unusual, so you should be able to find me. And there's my website. I'm also on Facebook as well. I just didn't put everything on there, but I try to be consistent with using my name. All right, and I know we're supposed to have time. Do we have time for questions? Okay.
We got about 15 minutes left. If anybody has any specific ones, please let us know. While you're maybe thinking about some questions you might want to ask, one of the things I wanted to just add is travel health insurance, right? If you go to our Prince Agency website, which is princeagencyllc.com. Sorry, she's telling me to get in front of the camera. And I'm not trying to stand in front of you. Anyway,
Yes.
There's a travel tab there. If you scroll down just a little bit, there is a very short 3-minute video. I implore you to watch it because it highlights what can go wrong. If we leave the country and depend on our domestic health insurance, in every situation we are responsible to pay up front and then attempt to try to get reimbursed when we get back to the U.S. Language barriers, exchange rates, was it considered medically necessary by your domestic health plan, and on. We use and suggest a travel health insurance that pays up front for all of it. I had a lady just in the past 3 months, I think it was, that she'd been on a cruise and some bizarre beetle she smashed, poisonous venom, 3rd-degree burns from it, and on the ship they were, pay up front because they needed to be treating her, and basically you just call the toll-free number and they actually pay the bill over the phone with a credit card for you up front. So concierge, life flights, all those things. So please check out those things because that's another big question when it comes to travel. Any other questions for Dawn? And I'll step
And that could easily be number 6 of traveling without fear, is like making sure you have some backup in your travel insurance, so that if you end up in a hospital or hurt, you have some help, because you're right, you do. I have been with a friend in the hospital in Greece, and you do have to pay up front.
Yes, you do.
They won't do anything until you give them a card.
Yeah, it's not like the U.S. when you get to an emergency room door and they have to take you in and get you stabilized no matter if they get paid or not. It doesn't work that way in other places, right?
Yeah.
I had another couple that went on a cruise and went scuba diving, and the husband had a heart attack, and she was on her way to the hospital in her bikini and nothing else, right? And having help with whatever you need like that, having that backup plan is really a big deal. So
Yeah. You had a question?
yeah.
Just comment, we were in the Philippines for 2 years, and on our 2 days before we were supposed to come home, I fell and broke my hip. And I had to have surgery there. It cost 750,000 pesos.
I don't know what the translation of that is, but
It's about $14,000, and luckily our insurance, we had the insurance and it covered it, but you know, sitting in a third world country with the emergency doors open and the flies and the mosquitoes. I was in the emergency room for 48 hours before I got a room. It was an experience. So, and the second question, David and I are thinking about going on a cruise, and we were talking to someone today that an Alaska cruise, and they were saying there is a train that you can ride that goes through the mountains there in Canada, and so that you see the mountains or whatever. Would you, by any chance, just happen to know the name of that, or can guide us in that direction?
Oh my gosh.
I don't.
Okay, okay.
I'm sure I could figure it out.
Yes, right?
Well,
But
we
off the
will
top of
too,
my
but
head,
I
no,
just
I
was
don't.
hoping maybe on the top of my head.
That would be nice if I did know.
I'm sorry.
No, but that sounds like a fun.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was my guess.
Google it.
Google it, exactly.
Yes,
There you go.
we will Google it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, she just thought maybe I would know, and sometimes I do know random things.
Rocky Mountaineer.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That sounds like a lovely trip.
Specifically called the Rocky Mountaineer.
Does anybody else have any exciting trips planned that they'd be willing to share where they're going? From the back table back there, anybody?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Please go
We're
ahead.
leaving August 18th,
And where are you headed?
Nice,
Nice.
southern France.
Yeah.
But we're coming back out of Paris, so we're taking the train to Lyon and Paris and then fly back, so.
Yes, these two are adventurous. I think they spent, is it 2 months or 3 months?
1 month.
1 month?
would be about
Last
6
year, okay, yeah, overseas as well, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to go.
Public transportation's awesome, and your phone is your best friend. For Google Translate as well.
Yes.
You can use the lens and read placards and buy stuff in stores, and
Yes.
it's way,
It's great advice.
yeah. Have a conversation if you have to with somebody,
Yeah.
emergency, that's really,
This is true. Google Translate is your friend when you're in the grocery store, wherever. You can take a picture and it translates
That's amazing.
for you.
And if you Google for directions, it will tell you how many minutes you have to walk, how long the bus ride is, how many minutes it takes for you to walk to the train station, and how long the train station is. And if there is no way to get there, it will tell you that too.
Google Maps is awesome too.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you still need your
It will.
data, right?
Yes, you do.
Yep.
you
Still
do.
need your data, and that does not work everywhere. That works in Europe, but in Kosovo, it's sketchy.
Now you're-
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like there's some of it.
so
Yes.
who do you know there in Eastern Europe when you went there the first time? Was it a family member?
The first time I went, I used to teach, and I had a student who was from there, and so she kind of arranged for me to do volunteer work over there, and that was my first trip, and loved it, and then just kind of came back for different reasons,
Yeah.
and now I go pretty much. I'm about to go over there in August and stay for several months. So
Well, and Amy, I think you mentioned you're headed out as well, so where are you headed?
With Dawn
Uh-huh.
to North Macedonia.
Amazing. And of course, you've never been any place like that before, I assume, right?
Not alone.
Not alone.
I mean, I'll be with the girls.
Right.
So, that's a little sense of,
Yeah,
you know,
community
public
and, yeah,
fear and,
exactly.
yeah.
Wonderful, that's exciting.
yeah, we're
Any
gonna.
other questions?
I'm having them practice taking the bus there.
Oh, very good.
Yes. I was like, you know what? We all need to learn how to, transportation scares people. So I was like, I'm going to take them on the bus so that you can be on it with someone who knows what they're doing and kind of learn it. And then if you go to another place, okay, well, I've at least done this once. I can figure it out again. So,
Right, gets a little easier each
so
time.
some people will be more excited about that than others, but but it's part of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. Any other questions, people?
How about you, Bruce? Any trips? You're the travel guy for years.
Ah.
Not planned right now.
Not for that right now, okay.
That's all right.
back and forth with my granddaughters right now to Oklahoma,
Yes.
but yeah.
Wonderful.
Well,
Stella?
thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you, Dawn. We will, we will post the link to the Zoom replay on the Facebook event, and then we will have the slightly edited, we usually like crop little bits and stuff like that, and then post it on our website, again, princeagencyllc.com. If you go under the About tab, there is a TTCC for our Third Thursday Community Conversation events, and you can see the history of our events there and rewatch them, and we have all sorts of incredible things that we've had other presenters in, so I encourage you all to take a look at those and enjoy. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again
Thank
for
you,
coming out,
everyone.
everybody.